The Crypto Show is brought to you in part by CoinHQ, your one-stop crypto shop for news, information, entertainment. At CoinHQ, we're sending the bears back to hibernation and getting ready for a bull ride the likes you haven't seen since Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. So buckle up, buckaroos. It's going to be a good ride.
Hey there, what do you know? It's time to watch the Crypto Show. It's a show about crypto. Crypto Show.
Oh, hey there, how are you? Last week we talked a little bit about garbage investments and about how being a garbage man can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you bought. And the two coins that I'm talking about this week, Meme here, a very small cap, still around $400,000, which I promised I'd take a look at the chart of this week, is the kind of coin that a lot of people would call a shitcoin, garbage investment for many different reasons. We'll finish talking about that today. And of course, then here's another coin, which is a very large cap that some people also call a shitcoin, but for very different reasons. So both of these could be considered to be garbage investments by some people. As far as I'm concerned, really, Bitcoin Cash, Meme, they're currencies, so their value is determined by the free market. They're not really the kind of thing that I think of as being true garbage. Now, whereas a coin like Meme may be down considerably from its all-time high, at least there's things that we can do to research a coin like that to find out if it's truly garbage or just another investment whose value has been determined by the market. These other investments, there isn't really any way for anybody to determine if they're of value or not. Development teams and early investors are sitting on a large portion of the supply. You cannot look on a blockchain explorer, you can't look at market history, you can't figure out how many shares are out there, you can't figure out how many shares the developers are sitting on, how many shares that are going to be brought to market at any point in the future. I'm not talking about currencies, I'm not talking about utility tokens, I'm talking about fucking ICOs. God, I hate scammers. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, RAR, Ethereum was an ICO. Yes, it was. And another thing Ethereum has in common with a lot of the scam ICOs was the extremely large portion that was allocated or purchased, in this case, by early investors. A full 40% of all the ethers sold at ICO went to the top 100 purchasers, and the three largest purchasers, actually here according to this article by Amy Castor, were each taking home 1 million ETH. And you know, all things considered, it worked out pretty well. ETH development team has been active, a lot of value has been created, and a lot of the early ICOs were solid projects like Lisk, Waves, and that's because many of them were conceived to be platforms for building decentralized applications, smart contracts, or games, or even building in voting functionality. The ICO was a legitimate way to procure funding for really exciting development projects. Yet we went to really the biggest scam in finance, a place where over half of all the ICOs don't even exist 4 months after they were issued. So how did we go from using the ICO to give money to people like Vitalik Buterin, who is hardworking, a genius, totally dedicated to his project, to the current dumpster fire that is the wreckage and remnants of 2017's ICO boom? Well, ironically, a lot of that has to do with the nature of Ethereum itself, because Ethereum allows anyone to start their own ICO based on their platform using the ERC20 token. And what that means is that anybody with any kind of idea at all that they can convince investors to take an interest in, you can raise capital for. And there have been many different interesting ICOs based on Ethereum. One of my personal favorites is a coin called More, which was previously known as LGD or Legends Room on Bittrex. And this is actually a token for membership in an exclusive club. Kind of an interesting idea, tokenized membership. It's actually something that you can quantify and a product that you can actually use in the real world, which is way more than most ICOs ever delivered. And we also saw a trend towards tokenizing actual assets in the real world. In this case, there's an ISO, which is an initial sardine coin offering, similar to Banana Coin. That looks like it will be the SARD 2020 for vintage 2020 sardines. Is this a good idea? I don't know. I think that putting fish on the blockchain might be an idea that's time has come. And in fact, the plan behind the sardine coin is to corner the market in tinned sardines, which is a very, very old investment strategy. So this is really nothing new.
But recently, pegging a stablecoin to the value of fish is kind of an odd way of coming up with a peg. Past pegs to the price of gold or even to the US dollar have proven to be difficult at times to maintain, and gold-backed cryptos have a real nasty reputation for being scams. Now, of course, this all begs the question of how to ICO a project or a coin and transfer value to the project without creating this tremendous incentive for the development team to run off with the money. Counterparty actually came up with a really interesting scheme which was called proof of burn. Kind of imbued, for lack of a better word, the counterparty tokens with the value of the Bitcoin that was collected by the ICO team, even though Counterparty wasn't strictly an ICO. What happened was Counterparty went ahead and they burned the Bitcoin that they collected during the ICO round, which means they sent it to a burn address, basically deleting it forever to give the Counterparty tokens value. Now, of course, to me, that is utterly ridiculous, and I'm sure that any modern ICO team would think the same thing. Why do an ICO anyway if you're not collecting the real asset that it has real value, either it be Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever other platform you're using to run the ICO? You're collecting that underlying token and using that to enrich the treasury or using that to your development fund. But in the Counterparty's case, the developers had such faith in their own platform and their own efforts that they were willing to take the Bitcoin and say, our token is going to be worth more at one point than the Bitcoin that you as investors put into it. And that's why you should have faith in our project. And you just don't see that kind of thing happening anymore. And really what you've seen more of in the 2017 era was the ICO scam, which was enabled by and large through Binance listing white paper ICOs with nothing behind them. Many of these projects were revealed to be out and out scams after the fact. In fact, Twitter commentary Dovey1, who you should all follow, that's at Dovey1 for China News, came right out and said on Twitter that during the boom there were all kinds of white paper mills ready to provide people running scam ICOs with pictures, biographies, TV studios, whatever you would need to make it look like your ICO was a legitimate project so you could go ahead and sell garbage to investors. But yeah, you should really follow her if you haven't already, because China has an outsized influence on cryptocurrency in general. They are the driving force behind a lot of the moves in the market. They always have been, and I really still believe them to still be. Yeah, but getting back to CZ here, he's quite an interesting guy. 0 to billionaire in 6 months is what his Forbes article says. Well, when you're extorting ICO teams for portions of their equity or charging exorbitant listing fees to legitimate projects and enabling white paper ICO mills to fleece investors, you can make a tremendous amount of money, and then then of course you have to move your business to jurisdictions where regulation can't touch you, which he has done and will probably have to do again, as it looks like Malta is going to be under the new financial laws of the EU. Now, of course, I can't even follow this son of a donkey because he blocked me after I publicly called him out on Twitter for hashtag spamming every coin not associated with Binance ads. So, one more time, middle fingers up in the air to you, CZ, you scammy piece of... Oh, that was a wet one. But anyway, yeah, I'm not too bitter. Here I am being my own gym friend. If you could see that shirt I'm wearing, it's an ICO tracker shirt that I got there, and really what it's good for is sweating in. So that's what I do with it. Really, it's amazing to me that people keep falling for these kind of stupid setups, and if we're seeing the beginning of a new bull cycle in the market now, I think that we're going to see the return of the same scams that we've all gone through before. I think the SEC now is going to prohibit or start regulating IEOs, which are initial exchange offerings. You can see here the SEC knows about that, and they're already recognizing that these IEOs are allowing investors to step right up to the window and start gambling immediately, because these things go live on exchange right away. They go live for a fee. That is, the IEO team goes ahead and pays the exchange, and trading can commence. Now, of course, you run into problems when the IEO is a security and it's not registered. You also run into problems with the trading platform perhaps not being registered as a broker-dealer, and the platforms being in cahoots with the IEO team to basically sell unregistered garbage securities to naive investors. Now, of course, the people running these scams know that they can basically get away with it. They don't have to worry about being under the purview of the U.S. SEC, because there's no way that if you invest your money in one of these instruments overseas that you're ever going to see it again, or that the government is going to be able to go after the scammers that you forked money over to. So the best thing to do is to just avoid most of these products. Do your own research, and don't be lulled into a false sense of security because they're only offered on particular exchanges. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that would be. Maybe the idea is that the exchange has some credibility, or that in order for the token to be listed on a given exchange, it would have to be compliant with the regulatory regime that that exchange functions under. So supposedly that makes it a safer investment, but I don't really buy that. It really depends. There are so many scammy exchanges out there. I really don't like to deal with any of the exchanges except for Bittrex. You'll hear me talk about them often because I trust them, because they are under the purview of the United States' regulatory oversight, and they've always made an effort to work with the regulators versus running from them. And they've always tried to do things, as far as I can tell, they've always tried to do things on the up and up. Aside from them, I like Coinbase, Gemini as well. And I stick to keeping most of my trading within those exchanges, unless there's a project that I really want to get involved with that isn't on one of those exchanges and I'm forced to go elsewhere. But that's few and far between, just because at this point I've lost so much money in exchange hacks over the years that I'm just not willing to take that risk. Now, in earlier shows, I joked about being a garbage man of crypto, and I'm going to follow through on that weekly by taking out the garbage in a new segment that I lovingly call the ICO Dumpster Fire. So, without further ado, let's see what's in the bin this week. And the dumpster fire of the week would be Hex. A hex upon you. Why do people keep falling for these stupid things? So anyway, the big news about Hex is that $7 million in ETH was cashed out into 36 different addresses. Meanwhile, Richard Hart, the financial wizard and cryptocurrency guru behind this whole thing, there he is, has clearly been using some kind of mystery method to summon up all of the minor demons of crypto scam land. I mean, seriously, if you want to add credibility to your project, the first person you go to get to promote it is going to be Trayvon James. I mean, the only good thing about Trayvon is that he must have a list of suckers a mile long that are willing to buy whatever garbage he talks about. I mean, either that or he's really well connected with this guy. He's like the Daddy Warbucks of crypto. Great singer, though. Now, I'm not saying that Hex is a scam, or that all ICOs are, but I am saying that there are a number of key things to look out for that are common among many ICO scams. Now, number one, is it an Ethereum token? Yep. Well, that means it's easy to set up. If it is, you might want to proceed with caution. Number two, is there some novel new idea about how to handle money or solve a problem that doesn't really need a solution? And there's a marketing hook, the adoption amplifier. Well, again, this doesn't seem to be scammy at all. Anyway, you can check out the Steemit post if you want to read more from ISA Coin. And don't forget to ask the important questions like why Richard Hart needs to own half of all the tokens, which now that they've fallen to less than 1 sat apiece, aren't worth very much. But hey, if you're sitting on $7 million worth of Ethereum at the bottom of the market, you don't need too much else. It was fun. Well, anyway, it's getting late here at the old crypto show. So I'll go ahead and take a look at a few charts here. Go ahead and look at Meme. Okay, so here we'll take a look at Meme. This is a one-day chart I have of this coin. And I tend to take a longer look at coins when I'm picking out something that I'm interested in. One of the things I like about this coin is that you can see regular accumulation spikes. You're getting about one the second or third week of every month, and then very consistent, and even back into here. I like that it's past this 200-day moving average. That hasn't happened in a while. And even more than that, I like that right now the current accumulation zone is right about where the historical accumulation zone was back in 2016. Now, I remember this coin from 2016. I don't really remember trading it, but like a lot of earlier coins, uh, this is a cryptocurrency. It's not an ICO, so you can look at a block explorer. You can see how many coins are in circulation. You can get an idea for how many coins are in the market. And you can pull a historical chart so you can see what it's done in the past. And right now, you can see that you have, this is back in 2016. There was accumulation. I wouldn't say that it was as regular as what we've seen lately, but if you look the level that it was trading at, gosh, I am just not managing this mouse well tonight. Currently, it's about where it was before it took off last time. And then we can see, oh, at trading, this is about 10x where it is now, which would be around 2000. The first breakout here looks like it really broke out big. And this is when we saw it break through the moving average. It was right around 200 sats, and then it kind of broke through that resistance level, which was probably around 600, and then it just kind of took off shortly thereafter. The next big resistance level is around 2000, I would say, which would be a 10x gain. And then, it peaked all the way up at 10,000, which is just tremendous. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that attracted me to this coin initially. I talked about that in the last episode. You can go back. I'm not going to go over that all again. But looking at the chart draws me in and makes me want to investigate the fundamentals. I like the 1 hour chart of this coin. Very tradable if you're into swing trading. Plenty of opportunity to pick it up in this 100, 120 sat range, and then sell in this range, even this range if you like, if you're into doing that kind of trading. I do some of that, but I do an awful lot of just hodling these kind of things because knowing how the last market cycle unfolded and just looking at the amount of time that this coin has been in accumulation. Just to click back here. You've got, the better part of a year spent in this accumulation zone around 700 sats, so that'll be really strong resistance. And then good 6-8 months in accumulation in this zone around, as low as 60 to 150 sats, and that's with a much, much lower market cap of hundreds of thousands of dollars, which makes it very, very easy for even little whale to scoop up large portions of the supply, which is what I think you have seen happen here. So all of these things make me catch the attention of this, and especially, given the success of meme coins, I think that we could very well see Doge take off anytime now. And usually when one coin of a category takes off, a lot of the time you'll see other coins that kind of fit that same category benefit. And for me, this could be my Doge play. It's indirect, but I really love indirect plays in crypto, especially because if Doge takes off, that's, a 2 to 3x gain perhaps on that position. Well, this is a much, much smaller market cap, so the liquidity isn't necessarily there. But I mean, I think that given the historical resistance levels that we've seen, the return on investment, for a smaller investment, of course, could be considerably greater if you're willing to be patient and hodl, and if you're also willing to suffer the risks that go along with trading small cap alts, which is a subject that I'll definitely talk about moving forward. So, as always, do your own research. Really, really look into these things, and don't just look at charts. Pull the fundamental analysis. Look into what people are talking about online. Do hashtag searches. Search Bitcoin Talk, Reddit, Discord, anything that you can find. Any information is powerful, because 9 out of 10 people are just going to look at charts, or they're just going to see what people are talking about on Twitter. And those are all good gauges for interest in a project. But ultimately, if you can find evidence that there's ongoing development, that there's a team there, that there will be an effort to market make the project so the liquidity is there in the market, then you may have found something that is undervalued. So that's mean. And then I'll be headed on down that dusty trail. So, see you next time.
Hey there, what do you know? It's time to watch the Crypto Show. It's a show about crypto. Crypto Show.
I'd just like to say thanks for listening to the Crypto Show, and that the Crypto Show is not investment advice. It's not intended to be. I'm more of a garbage man than I am an economist. Please keep that in mind. I'll try to be honest and transparent. I don't take money from anybody. The only person that pays me is CoinHQ, and we're trying to remain as objective as we can. Still, please do your own research, and remember that nobody has your best interests in mind but yourself. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Yeah, that's me right there, at Rent-A-Rocker on Twitter.